Today, I want to talk to you about a material that is a must have among my art tools: tracing paper. Tracing paper has been a part of my process for quite a while now, and I cannot paint without it. I'm going to be sharing how I even got introduced to tracing paper in the first place and how it alleviates so much stress for my process, gives me a ton of flexibility and freedom, and maybe you'll be a tracing paper lover too by the end of this video.
Welcome to my channel.
My knowledge of art materials was very limited before I went to Savannah College of Art and Design. It was at that college where I was introduced to using tracing paper as a tool for watercoloring. In my science illustration class, I had a beautifully drawn Madagascan moth and was daunted by the task of trying to copy that drawing from my sketch pad onto my watercolor paper. Besides, I had just learned that I shouldn't erase on watercolor paper in case I ruined the tooth of the paper. Watercolor paper might seem hardy because of how thick it is, but it's actually very delicate. My professor saw my dismay and told me how to use tracing paper to transfer my drawing onto my watercolor paper. I was amazed at how simple and easy this was. So, all you do is trace your drawing from your sketchbook, flip over your tracing paper, and go over the lines on the backside with a dark pencil. Then, flip it back over and lightly press that dark graphite onto your watercolor paper with the back of your brush. Then you have a complete drawing on your watercolor paper. You can see that my tracings start with a blue colored pencil. I recently swapped out my micron pens for a blue colored pencil because I was missing some of the nuance of what a pencil can give and a marker cannot. So by the time my drawings reached my watercolor paper, they became lifeless. The blue helps me remember which side is which, and I have the bonus of being able to erase the blue pencil if I need to. When I'm ready to apply my heavy graphite on the backside, like you see me doing here, I use anywhere from a 3B to a 6B pencil. Right now, I use these super nice black wing pencils that are equivalent to a 3B if I press hard enough. They glide so nicely and don't smear so much. The challenge of doing large tracings like these is patience and not smearing all that hard work you just did. I always try to trace from left to right and top to bottom, so my hand stays clear of accidentally rubbing the graphite off. Using tracing paper for a drawing like this might seem like a lot of work and extra steps, but in the long run, it saves you so much time and frustration. Let me explain. Keeping a sketch pad or a small notebook handy is good practice as an artist. You can easily collect ideas whenever the pressure is off because it's recorded so casually. Having the flexibility to draw and brainstorm wherever you are comfortable is where the magic truly happens. I personally have a hard time drawing in my studio. I need to be outside or cozy on the couch or even in a coffee shop corner. I also am so picky about what kind of paper I'm drawing on. I like a bound notebook in my hand, and I want my paper to be soft, slightly textured, maybe off-white, and can take a beating with my eraser and scribbles. Drawing is the most intimate and laborious part of the process for me, so I want to be as comfortable and inspired as possible. When I pamper this part of my process, it allows my creativity to flow, my precision and detailing to sharpen, and I'm more excited to keep going till I get it right. When I used to draw on my watercolor paper, I would oftentimes find that I wanted to correct my composition, but I couldn't. I couldn't move my drawing or change the angle or play around without having to erase and start all over. So if my composition ended up drifting to the side while I was drawing, it had to stay that way or get scrapped. I also find that by having my drawings saved somewhere outside of my painting, I am willing to take more risks when painting and explore my options in my composition. I can combine and puzzle tracings together, work on angles and balance, and when I'm ready to paint, I don't have to worry about ruining a perfect drawing because I can transfer it again onto a new piece of watercolor paper or panel. Watercolor is unforgiving, so I find tracing paper alleviates a lot of the stress of needing to get it right on the first go. When I want to save my tracings, I simply store them in a large envelope or portfolio case between cardboard, where they can lay flat and keep from transferring their leftover graphite onto other paper. I find that most of my tracings have about 3 solid transfers in them, and then I need to reapply the graphite again. Since I draw a lot of hands, I generally like to keep a ton of gestures on hand, pun intended, to inspire, save time, and flip through like a catalog of options. And I find the step of using tracing paper in my process to be worth it every time. As you saw, I just prepped all of my tracing papers with these drawings, and the next step that I'm going to be doing is putting them on their panel boards. I've ordered my panels and I'm waiting for them to come into the mail so I can prep their surfaces and get these drawings on there. I am so excited. Just to jog your memory, I have 6 paintings in my collection that I'm doing. I already have one done and I need 5 more. These 5 are going to be a collection of hands since that is the primary subject that I paint, and they're all going to be in watercolor on panel surfaces. I'm prepping these panel surfaces with gesso, watercolor ground, and clay, and it's going to be a really interesting surface to paint on, and I can't wait to show you what it's going to look like and everything that's going to be involved in the chaos that there might be in trying this kind of like newish material. There's a lot of experimentation that's going to be happening. So please keep following along as I basically take from the very beginning of showing you my thumbnails all the way into the creation of these paintings to the very end and hopefully getting a show or something together to put them out into the public. Right now we're in that tender process where everything's drawn out and I just need to put them on these panel boards. And then the real exciting part of painting is going to come into play. So that should be starting next video. I haven't decided. It really depends on when I get these panels in. So I have a couple already and I might start on time next. This one's going to be really cool. And yes, that might be my next video. Subscribe so you can know when that next video is coming out, and I will do my best to stay consistent with how I'm putting these videos out. All right, see you next week.
Thank you for watching.